Still on that particular story and developing issue there, I want to bring in Martin Oloo, who's joining us from our Center studio. Thank you very much for joining us, Martin. He is a political analyst. Martin, do you think that their concerns and their demands are actually warranted?
Thank you, Betty. My position is that any Kenyan is free to seek the amendment to the Constitution. And to that extent, anybody, whether in diaspora or not, are free to invoke the position that the Constitution has in how it can be amended. But the key issue is, do they have a basis for wanting to change this? I don't think so. I think that there was wisdom behind Kenyans providing for that clause, so that whoever seeks to be a leader or seeks to be in a place or in a state, to be a state officer, should be somebody that we can hold accountable. So we cannot do that when somebody has a dual nationality and when their own accountability is divided.
Now, Martin, apart from that reason that you've just given, that, there needs to be accountability, is there any, what other reasons, do they have, the committee of experts and everyone who was, who took part in coming up with these laws, what reasons would they have had, to put this such a law in place?
I think that the most critical one is the fact that your loyalty has to be to a certain nation. When you pledge allegiance to a certain flag, to a certain national anthem, surely that is the anthem that you seek to protect or even defend. So you cannot want to be an American and a Kenyan, which is the Constitution allows, but certainly in terms of leadership and holding positions of trust, it's expected that you should not have dual nationality. But more importantly, if you're going to be in the defense forces and America and Kenya were at a conflict, where would you, which position would you take? So there's this divided loyalty that we have to guard against.
So, one of the things that, they were saying, that's definitely a valid point, but they were saying, that children, their children will not be able to take part in, things that they want to. They would not want to be able to come home and, even be part of the Kenya Defense Forces. Do you think, on that basis, do you think that their concerns are warranted?
Not at all. I think we have to make choices. If you want your child to participate into the Kenyan Defense Forces, let them renounce the U.S. citizenship, they become Kenyan. For that period, they can serve, and if after their service they want to be, again, to have a dual nationality, the Constitution so allows. But we cannot have a situation where we are looking at amending the Constitution for my personal benefit. What is good for Kenya is what we should be seeking, not what is good for me.
All right. And the other thing is, what would it take? What would they need to do to, to move such, an amendment, to have it, done and written on paper? What exactly would they need? They are collecting signatures, but how many, if it's signatures, how many would they need? What would it take for this to happen?
I think that there are two ways in which the Constitution can be amended. One is that the government or the executive or the National Assembly can petition, can move an amendment clause which should be then published in accordance with the stated procedures. But then an ordinary Kenyan can petition Parliament or can petition the executive to bring a motion to amend the Constitution. So that way they will require signatures.
Right.
I am not very certain at this point how many, but certainly they need a number of signatures to meet the threshold in order for them to then trigger. Remember, like the case of Makueni, when they wanted the dissolution, there was a number of petitions, figures to sign and then trigger the action of dissolving the county.
But Martin, do you think they would get political backing? Even though they get this number of signatures, when they come back home, do you think they'll be able to get political backing? Also considering that these are the same politicians who actually go there to, to campaign and rally. But when, the rubber meets the road, do you think that they'll actually get that backing?
The politicians go there for money, for fundraising, and so on. The diaspora are also free to participate and give their contributions, granted.
Right.
Will politicians be able to grant them now the opportunity of being both dual citizens at the same time seek political office? In the first instance, it depends on where they want to seek those positions. So the politicians who will feel endangered will be the first ones to say, no, we don't want that. Secondly, the argument would be simple, that you can participate in many ways. You can remit, you can build the country in different ways. You don't have to be a state officer. And lastly, it is something that I doubt I can see it being passed.
Thank you very much, Martin, for that, for your time. He's talking to us, of course, on the basis of the new move by Kenyans living in the diaspora to have Article 78 of the Constitution amendment so that they can be able to come home and take up state offices, but also have their children be part of the Kenya Defence Forces, which is not possible with the current Article 78.